Hey guys, it's Julia here, and as you guys can see, I have two laptops right here. This is my ThinkPad X220, and this is my ThinkPad X1 Carbon. Now, you guys saw this in a previous video I made recently. Also, pretty good laptop, but as you can see, they're on two different operating systems. I have Windows 7 and Windows 10. Now, you're probably wondering, what am I doing in this video? Well, unfortunately, today is the very last day that Windows 7 under the ESU updates of Windows Server 2008 R2 actually gets updates, meaning that today is actually the official last day that Windows 7 can get an update. So, in this video, I'm going to be doing the update, but also I'm going to be comparing some app support because Windows 7 is starting to lose app support very rapidly, and it really has since like last year. So we're going to get into, what apps work and what doesn't and how usable this OS really is, because today is pretty much the nail in the coffin for Windows 7 as there's no other updates. So we're going to open up Windows Update, which I just like to search up and it comes up. And you guys can see we have one important update available right now. Now, if I go and click on it, you guys will see it is the 2026-01 Security Monthly Quality Rollup, but it says it's for Windows Server 2008 R2 because, as you know, there was an ESU bypass, and it allowed you to get Windows Server updates on Windows 7 through Windows Update. Now, it's on, as you can see, through desktop info. That is the December dot number of Windows 7 because I did update this to December. If I check, you guys can see I did updates last night, and it did install the 2025-12 Security Monthly Rollup, which was last month's update, and it was successful because you can actually still update Windows 7 with this method, and it's been a method for a while. So essentially, this is the very last update you're ever going to receive on a Windows 7 system, and it's unfortunate because obviously there's no other ESU updates. They're not releasing Server 2008 R2 updates anymore, but we're going to go ahead and install this update because, it's the last update for Windows 7. Like, might as well do it, As you guys will see, the update's actually now preparing to install as it's creating a restore point. Now, while that does its thing, we have this Windows 10 laptop, which, by the way, we need to also check for updates on here because I didn't do it yet, and it looks like it's already installing, so it's already ahead of its game. Because Windows 10 also got updates if you're in ESU program or if you're on LTSC, but in this case I'm running Windows 10 LTSC. I don't know if you can see because the wallpaper it picked makes it hard to read the desktop info, but I'll show WinVer before I reboot it. But it's currently also installing this month's update as today is Patch Tuesday, so all the OSs pretty much got an update today. By the way, this last Windows 7 update, believe it or not, Windows Vista also had an ESU with like Server 2008 updates, and that also ends today. So rip Windows Vista ESU as well, which is really sad. Although I think with Windows Vista, I don't even know if you could do the ESU through Windows Update. I think you had to like install it manually or something. I didn't look too deep into how ESU works on Vista, but I do need to because obviously I hadn't done it in a while, and it's been a while since I've actually dealt with Vista. I have a couple Vista machines, but not too many Vista machines. And the update's already done. Like, that was really quick. So, let's reboot and get the last update over with. I'll be honest, though, it is really sad that this is the last ESU. However, if you really think about it, I'm surprised it even went on this long. Like, I expected this to end a while ago. I remember when Windows 7 ended support in 2020, and then for 3 years they had ESU to like 2023, and then I went to the embedded ESU, which ended in October of 2024, and then I went to the server ESU which went until, January 2026. So there is unfortunately no other ESU option after this. Like, that's it. They're not even producing updates anymore. Now, because they're not producing updates anymore, that means app support is probably going to get even worse. Like, app support was already starting to be really bad for Windows 7, but now with no ESU, that really means that many people that were using 7 still, they're either going to continue using it because they don't care, or they're going to have to abandon ship and go to something that actually receives updates. So who knows what this will do to app support. I guess we'll see this year how much more stuff drops. I mean, I will be honest with you, you could probably get some apps working, especially if you downloaded older versions of the apps, but a lot of the newer versions of the apps are probably just simply not going to install because it needs, a higher operating system that's not Windows 7, which I understand, because obviously Windows 7 is old. There's not very many people running Windows 7 anymore. A lot of people moved on to like Windows 10 or Windows 11 or whatever. But yeah, you guys will see it's booting up, which, by the way, this is the OEM installation of Windows 7. And right off the bat, ShareX wants to update, which I will tell you guys this. Anything 18 and up with ShareX will not install on 7. It will literally tell you that it will not run. Like, if you try to run the installer, it will just say, oh, sorry, you need to have like Windows 10 and higher or something like that, because I tried it before, so I'm gonna click no. You guys will see that is our dot number. So 7601.28117, that is the last update Windows 7 will ever see. And I know you're like, well, how'd you get the dot number? Well, Desktop Info can actually pull the dot number because it's just in the registry under, like, the HKey local machine software, Microsoft Windows NT current version, and there should be an option in there for UBR, which is that number right there. But yeah, we are checking for updates again. It's not going to pull anything. If we go to the update history right now, you guys will see it did successfully install the January update. This is the last update, guys. This is it for Windows 7. This is the death of Windows 7. Like, even though, yeah, you probably could still use it on older computers, it won't be getting security updates anymore. And on top of that, you'd have to use a ton of old versions most likely, but we'll verify that. Which, let's restart the Windows 10 system. It was on the December patch because I updated that yesterday too. And now we have Windows 10 LTSC updating, which is a very good option for the people that want to stay on Windows 10 to just use LTSC 2021. Or if you stay on 22H2, you can enroll in the ESU program, or there's other tools out there that can actually give you ESU. Like, Windows 7 is still checking for updates. This laptop is nearly done updating, because I will say one thing about Windows 7. Windows Update was never even the greatest on Windows 7. It would always take forever to check. It would always take forever to download. It'd always take forever to install. Well, maybe not install, because you saw how quick that was. But, like, it's primarily the download that would take forever, or just checking for updates, especially. That is the big thing about Windows 7. Checking for updates takes, like, 15 minutes, and it's like, why do I want to wait 15 minutes to check for updates? Like, what? However, there are times where it's instant, so I guess it just depends. I don't really know why it's so slow. If any of you guys know, please leave a comment, because I'd be curious to know why it takes so long. Which, if I do a WinVer right now of this laptop, you guys will see this is the latest build of Windows 10, .6809. If you're on the ESU program, 22H2 also gets this update, which, if you guys are not enrolled or don't have ESU, which there are multiple ways to get ESU. There's even the same script for Windows 7 to get ESU. There's also a Windows 10 version of that script, and that will also give you the ESU too. But yeah, I know I made a video about making an updated ISO, and I used a script to get, the ESU for 7. Obviously, they're going to be, like, different versions of the script, but yeah. But yeah, this is up to date, as you guys will see here, and Windows 10 is good to go. It updated very quickly. Windows 7 is still checking, but I'll come back when it's done. I wish I was joking, but Windows 7 is still checking for updates. Like, this thing is really taking its sweet time trying to check for updates. So at this point, I'm honestly just gonna stop this video and come back, because pausing it is making my phone stay on and probably use battery on the camera. So I don't know how long it took, but I came back and it claims it's up to date. So very last update. What a shame that this is the very last update. Now, what I'm gonna do for the second section, I'm going to swap the SSD, because this laptop's really easy to do that, with another one I have of another clean 7 install, because we're gonna try and install some apps, because obviously I don't wanna affect the install that's on this machine and, you know, potentially mess up what's installed. So I'm going to just quickly do that. So be right back. Alright guys, so I'm booted to this install, and as you guys can see, it actually says Windows installed new updates. Yeah, the January update and some other updates, because this is the ISO I installed today, and this contained updates. Oh, go away, I did not mean to click that. This contained updates from, like, I believe June 2025, because for some reason, July and higher on my computer, on a virtual machine, would just not boot. Like, anytime I tried to, like, install the update, I reboot, it just gets stuck in a boot loop. Like, I'll include a video if you guys are curious, but it would just do this, and that's why I had to make the ISO June 2025, but on any system I've installed this ISO on, it's updated and not bricked, so I think it's just because my computer is super new, because the error code, when I found out when I tried this on VirtualBox, said unsupported processor. So I think it just doesn't like my CPU because it's a Ryzen 9. So, but anywho, that's not the point of this. As you guys will see, I have this Windows 7, which, let me actually quickly put desktop info on here for you guys so we can see and verify the dot number and all that. So I tried to update Edge, and that didn't even work, and we are on version 83, as you guys can see here. I wanted to, you know, get that over with, because obviously we're gonna need Edge for what we're about to do. But we also have desktop info, which I don't know why the other config looked weird, but this one looks normal. And you guys will see that, yeah, we are on build 7601.28117, so very last build on Windows 7, because all I did was install this, get drivers, run Windows Update once, and it just got everything, because this ISO already had ESU integrated. So, as you will see there, same thing. It's the same computer, it's a clean install of 7, it's not an OEM installation, and it's simply for us to do our theory. Now you're probably wondering, what's the best way to install applications for this video? There's a website actually, which I'll show you guys, called Ninite. I don't know if I typed it right, because I can't really see. Yeah, I did. Okay. And this allows you to install multiple apps at once, and you can just go through here and select a ton of things. Now, for this example, I'm not going to go through and do all of this, but I do have a link I'm going to paste that will download a Ninite for us that has a lot of the common software. Now, I didn't check every piece of software. These are probably like the most common softwares that people might install on their computers. So some of them I left out, but that is perfectly okay, because we're not here to install every single app on Ninite. That would probably take too long as well. But this is probably a standard software set. It's not a lot of apps, but it's the standard apps that someone might have on their computer. So we're gonna see what installs here, because how usable is Windows 7 in 2026? Because it's now 2026, it's January, we got our last update. You can see it actually did install Chrome, which is surprising. But again, we are gonna check the versions of these apps too, because it could be installing an older compatible version that is still supported, which Ninite might be able to do. But we can then see what the last version of the app is. Oh, I heard an air sound. I actually heard an air sound. I don't know if the video picked it up, but I heard it. So looks like it's Visual Studio Code, which, is there any air? No, that's weird. We're just gonna be installing some apps, and I'm also gonna go over some as well that I know of at the end that I'm not gonna necessarily show, but I will talk about. As you guys will see, Visual Studio Code timed out due to inactivity, but I heard an air sound, so I'm pretty sure it just aired, probably because it doesn't support Windows 7. It does look like we did get Zoom, iTunes failed because invalid condition, probably an error code saying it doesn't support 7. Handbrake looks like it worked, but who knows if it'll launch. Paint.net skipped because Windows 10 or later required. ShareX is installing, which I know will fail because it also requires a new version now if you're installing ShareX 18. On Windows 7, you have to use ShareX 17. Anything 18 and higher doesn't work because of .NET Framework. Because ShareX now uses a newer .NET Framework, and the highest .NET Framework version you can get on Windows 7 is .NET 4.8. Anything higher than that will not install, like starting with 4.8.1. Windows 7 did not have any support whatsoever, which it heavily relies on .NET Framework. So install failed, timeout, inactivity, again, probably didn't meet like some sort of requirement, so it failed as well. Google Earth looks like it worked, which is surprising, which that is an app I never usually install, but I guess for the sake of this video, plus if it does work, I guess we could check out Google Earth. It's been a while since I've checked out that app. However, I'm going to leave that there because we're going to check out some apps. So let's go to Google Chrome. Google Chrome works, but I think we do get a warning up here that mentions we need Windows 10 or later. This computer is still using Windows 7. Yeah, I bet this is an old Chrome version. It even looks like it as well. So about Google Chrome. To get future Chrome updates, you need Windows 10 or later. This computer is using Windows 7. We're on Chrome version 109. So version 109 is the last version of Chrome. However, as you saw in my other install, I actually had an app installed called Supermium, and that is basically a more up-to-date Google Chrome, but it's based off of Chromium. So if you're using Windows 7, Supermium is a great web browser to use, and I would recommend it, obviously, because the normal Chrome is stuck on 109. So it looks like it just installed an older build of Chrome, which is not surprising. Everything, I mean, I could have expected this app to work. It probably is the latest version. I think it is actually. So this app doesn't seem like it cares. This app doesn't have any issue with Windows 7 as far as it's concerned. Notepad++ runs, but let's see what our version is if I can even find it. About Notepad++, and it does look like it actually is up to date because that's December 27th, 2025. So latest version of Notepad++ works. So I guess that's good because honestly, this is a very good editor. Like even if you close Notepad++ with something in it and you reopen it, it actually remembers what you had typed, which I think is pretty cool. And I use Notepad++ on my computer. VLC, very important one. People use VLC because, you know, it's a very good media player. I know that there's other ones out there too. This looks like it's the latest as well. So I'm almost certain that this is actually the latest version of VLC as well. We'll compare it on the other computer when we look at it, but that's pretty impressive. Zoom, which I know is very important for meetings. Yeah, that doesn't work. That just straight up gave us an error trying to launch Zoom. So you're gonna have to be sticking to Zoom Online, which actually is a thing. It does let you join through your browser. However, it tries to get you to install it. But then if you don't, an option will show saying join from your browser if you're like having issues with the installation. So it's honestly what I did back in the day when I had to join Zoom meetings. I would never install it. I just used the browser because it worked, and I kept everything in a dedicated school browser that I used for school stuff because it was easier for me. Handbrake, is this gonna give us an error? Probably. I don't expect this to work. Okay, it does work. I'm surprised. I did not expect this app to work. However, it very well could have just installed like an older build of Handbrake because from what I've heard from somebody else, Handbrake supposedly doesn't work on 7. But as you can see about Handbrake, if I click this, okay, this might be an older build because it says version 1.3.3 and it has 2020 in it. And it also says copyright 2003, 2019. So I think Ninite just grabbed an older version of Handbrake. I don't think this is the latest at all. So older version works. Does Google Earth work? It does. When's the last time you guys had used Google Earth? Actually is a build date from September 2025. So this app does indeed work. Google Earth Pro, still supported on Windows 7. So if you are one of those people that likes to randomly go to places on Google Earth, I know I did as a kid. I'd always, like on the Windows XP computer, we had this installed and we would just browse around and look at stuff because we were bored. and it was pretty fun, and I hadn't done it since. So now, as far as all these other apps, as you can see, 7-Zip obviously worked. It says up to date, claiming it's already installed. This ISO might have actually included it, if I recall. I don't remember. Visual Studio Code didn't work. iTunes didn't work. Paint.net didn't work, which actually Paint.net is the only one here that actually gave us an error message. But let's go and try downloading some of these apps manually. So if I go to download ShareX, let's just go and download the latest version of ShareX, because why not, which is 18, which obviously isn't gonna work. If we try to run this, it's going to yell at us that Windows 7 is not supported anymore, but let's just validate that real quick. Yup, should have saw that coming. This program does not support the version of Windows your computer is running. So, no ShareX. If you go to downloads, they actually give you older versions. So, if I download like 7.1.0, for example, which I am certain this will probably work. If I run this version of the ShareX install, you can see it didn't error. It just opened up. I'm just going to leave everything default, but the installer launched. So that's actually some good news right there. It looks like it's actually going to work because we went and we downloaded 17.1.0, which I do believe this version does work. Yep, it does. Except it nags you to update just to tell you, no, you can't update. So you would have to basically go into your settings, your application settings, and you'd have to find the setting, which I don't know where it is. There it is. Automatically check for updates. Uncheck that, and it'll never ask to update again. And it'll just be on the older version of ShareX. Visual Studio Code. That was the other one that didn't work. So what happens if I try to install it on here? Will it also give the same error message of Windows 7 is no longer supported, you can't install this on your computer? This will probably give the same pop-up, and yup, exact same error code actually that ShareX gave, like identical message. Like, this is literally a copy paste. It does the same thing. Out of all those apps, only 7 of the apps actually installed, but only 6 of them actually opened because Zoom did not launch. All the other ones did. Some of them were later versions, some of them were older versions, and all that. So what about Firefox? That's one we kind of forgot about and I didn't check. You can see it automatically wants to download ESR because Firefox is no longer supported on Windows 8.1 and below. So even 8.1 can't run it. So Windows 7 and 8.1 does let you download Firefox ESR, which I'm pretty sure if you actually went through Night, it would actually download the ESR build of Firefox, because I believe that's what happened on my other install, because I had Firefox selected and I believe it was the ESR build because it did install. I'm just going to click through it and, you know, open it and show the version of Firefox. So that way you guys can actually see the last version of that, because web browsers I feel like are very important to show in this video because, you know, there's that. So we're on ESR, but we're stuck on 115.32. And I don't think this has gotten updates in a while. Like, I'm almost certain that's a much older build of Firefox. So, yeah. Now, I'm pretty sure there is a version of Firefox that does work on 7, like some other build. I don't know what it's called, but it's similar to like Supremium, for example. But I heard there is a supported Firefox out there that somebody else had created, but I don't know what it is. If you want to leave a comment, you can. But essentially, bottom line, if you're going to run Windows 7 still, you're probably going to have to use older versions of apps. And you're going to also, you know, you're going to be limited to those older versions. There are, you know, certain softwares that do allow newer builds. However, not all of them work. Like, for example, you saw that we have the latest version of like everything, and Notepad++, and even Google Earth Pro. Like, those will work no problem. And same with VLC. I'm almost certain that was the latest version of VLC too. I'm already going to make a prediction and say Windows 7 app support, it's going to get a whole lot worse starting in this year. Now, before we end the video, I do want to look at the apps and the versions and show you guys what we have here. so that way you guys can actually see what we have installed. So that way you guys have an idea of what we have if you guys are curious. Now the visual run times, those were actually combined with the OS itself, because I made this updated ISO and I installed the run times because they're very helpful, especially with certain apps requiring them. Another thing I want to say, since I obviously didn't install everything, of apps that are confirmed to not work. So for example, with Microsoft Office, you can only run Office 2016. Anything 2019 and higher will fail to install. You won't be able to run the latest version of OBS. You won't be able to run iTunes, which we did see already. Obviously no ShareX or Paint.net. If you want to run VMware Workstation, you have to run a really old build of VMware Workstation, because apparently anything higher than 16 doesn't work, and I don't even know if 16 works. If you use Discord, it's not going to run on Windows 7 unless you use an older installer for Discord, because the newer installers will just give you DLL errors. If you video edit like me and use DaVinci Resolve, obviously, like, you can't run an older build. I remember back in like 2020 when I was trying to run 7 and stuff, I think I had to use an older installer for DaVinci, because the newer one, like, even though it would install, I would have problems with the video. Like, I couldn't render and stuff like that, and it was all broken. Obviously, no PowerShell 7, no Spotify. If you guys play Roblox, that's not going to work either. And if you use like a VPN, like for example, Proton VPN, I heard doesn't work on 7 either. So essentially, a lot of apps that I just named right there are not going to work on Windows 7 anymore. And I'm sure, yeah, if you got older builds of all those apps, it would work. But who would want to go through the hassle to try to get all this old software working, which might have vulnerabilities or exploits? Now on our Windows 10 computer, I actually updated all of the apps recently, but you guys will see that we have a big software set on here and a lot of apps installed, and all these are probably newer versions. Now if I find, I don't know if I have VLC on here. Yeah, VLC version 3.0.21, and this is running 3.0.23, so this is somehow more up to date. Maybe I need to update VLC on here. I guess it's out of date, so I guess that confirms that. I'm not sure how clear you can see this, but this is the side-by-side with the software, and I don't know if you can zoom it in or see it properly, or if it's not going to be, you know, very readable because, you know, it's in a video, but that's pretty much the gist of it. Software support somewhat exists on 7, but not very much. All the modern browsers are dropped. A lot of the apps that I personally use require older versions, and I'm actually going to be migrating some computers off of Windows 7 this year, simply for the fact of software support. And honestly, I think 8.1 is going to be the exact same with software support, same as 7. Most companies just treated both of them the same way and said, you know what, Windows 10 and higher. And it's crazy because this laptop running Windows 10 went EOL. But because it's on LTSC, I'm obviously still getting updates and stuff like that. Because if I go in here and I view my update history, you guys will see that I just installed the January patch today and it was successful. So this laptop is fully up to date, and I think I already did a WinVer. It's fully up to date. Going to the About screen, which you guys can see the specs of this laptop here. It's fully up to date as well. And just in case you guys are curious, this is the specs of my Windows 7 machine right here, and what CPU it has and stuff. It's not too bad. I mean, it's a 2nd Gen i5 and 8 gigs of RAM. So definitely, you know, lacking a little bit, but it's still a really good laptop, and I honestly like this laptop a lot. I think it's a really decent machine for what it is. You know, it's sad to see Windows 7 starting to lose app support. It's only going to get worse. If you're still running Windows 7 and you're still dealing with this, I mean, if you're really dedicated to get apps working and you think you'll be fine, then I guess whatever. But note that because the ESU ended especially, apps are going to especially drop support even more now. And also running Windows 7, probably without getting updates, is definitely not the greatest idea. Even if you're on Windows 10 as well, like, enroll in that ESU. You got to be getting those updates. Anyways, another thing I want to say just before wrapping up is that software support on 10, I really don't see going away anytime soon, especially because Windows 10 and 11 are very similar, and even though Windows 10 is EOL now, a lot of people are still using it, and there is the ESU program. I will say though, maybe after a year, when the ESU ends, some apps are gonna drop, but I feel like some are still gonna support it. But I guess we'll have to wait and find out. And we have LTSC as well, and even extended ESU for 22H2, because Microsoft obviously has to have that for businesses and stuff like that. Anyways, if you guys want to say anything down in the comments on what your guys' opinions are about app support for either of the operating systems, feel free to leave a comment down below. But it's really sad to see Windows 7 go like this. Anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap up the video now. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Sorry if it got too long. I just really wanted to, show this and show the app support, show how it's getting worse and all that stuff, and how honestly, if you're still maining Windows 7, it might honestly be time to let it go. As sad as I say it is, and even if you're like, oh, I'm dedicated, I can try. I mean, you can, but is it recommended? Honestly, no. But I will still keep some 7 systems around. Obviously, I'm not maining them every day, so I'm not worried about not getting updates. It's not like I'm doing anything sensitive on them to have to worry about that. Anyways, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. Also, thanks to my channel members, which are Samir Yoshizawa, The Full Moon, Christian1739, Overgreen, Stratic 8, Ziggyos, DJ1928, Dencorn, Cyclone, Caden, Aquahusky WX, Ritu, Mike Rea, Chris Garrett, Sax Tech Place, Gazelle Edge, Suwon LEL, Rambos1234, CNNR, GRNWD, Riley Brill Tech, Galaxy A34, Electronic Search 3.0, Diamond JGD, Aqua95, along with everyone else here on this list. I really appreciate you guys' support for being channel members. Really means a lot to me. I got some great videos coming up that you guys will see, and for everyone to see. So yeah, thank you so much. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Happy New Year. More to come soon, and bye-bye for now.